Okay, Nick Dutch back again one more time. Hi there, how's it going? Doing this particular video in 3D so that I can do wonderful things like reaching out to you and it'll look all wonderful and weird and stuff, you know. So if you haven't got your red and cyan glasses on now, then go and get them. Use the slidery thing to go back to the beginning of the video. Use the cogwheel shaped icon on the bottom right hand corner of your player to select your 3D viewing preference. I personally find it works better for me on Firefox rather than on Chrome, but you know, if you've got the right hardware it'll work on Chrome as well, or you know, play around, you'll be fine. But this is the standard normal, you know, Nick Dutch doing a video blog, kind of like the way I used to, but obviously with 3D enablement. Dealing with a important inquiry from someone who's a regular viewer of my channel, a regular subscriber, follower and all the rest of that. And this individual says that she wants to live in the here and now, but she does tarot for herself, and she finds that she's like psychologically or psychically like trying to work things out as what's going to happen next in the future all the time. And she's trying to reconcile between living in the present and living in the future kind of thing. Alright? This like, you know, alarm bells going off as far as I'm concerned when I hear that kind of inquiry, because if someone's struggling to the point whereby they've got to send me an email to ask, you know, is this okay? You know, how can I reconcile these two things? Then I think that there may be something going wrong there. And maybe it could be a question of you doing this stuff too much, or possibly using it for the wrong reasons, or maybe you need to adjust, just very slightly adjust your, you know, kind of like direction of thought associated with playing with divination tools. Now, one of the main benefits of dealing with a divination tool of any type is that it's a introspective exercise. It helps you to think more about yourself. You can use it to deal with emotions and all kinds of stuff. And it's not perfect, but it can be used as a form of self-therapy or self-developmental, you know, introspective analysis. If that is like the culture or spirituality that you've managed to adopt. I'm a personal believer that spirituality is very important like that in general. But sometimes it can go over the top. Now, I've been doing much better at my tarot work to the point whereby I felt I could charge a bit more money for it, and I'm still getting people who are calling me back at this higher price with a bit too much in the way of frequency. And I have to say to them, stop. Alright, I have to say stop for a good reason, and there's the strong possibility with some individuals of the development of psychic addiction, which is when, you know, you're perpetually either looking forward into the future far too much, or what you're doing is how should I put it, relying too much upon answers from the tarot or whatever it is that you've got, rather than stopping and thinking about, right, here I am in the here and now, this is what I know I can do, these are the things here which I can influence. I can't influence all that stuff, but I can influence all this stuff, so I'm going to try and work out what I can do today that will make it more likely that I'll get to my goals. And if other things come along, then I'll have to take my luck as it comes, but I have to do, you know, today the best I can. Now, I personally have got my goals for my long-term future, which is, yes, many years down the line from now. Very strong goals, things I want to achieve, definitely there, okay? I've also got more sort of like mid-term goals for like further into the future. I've also got shorter-term goals, okay? But I know that if I muck up today, I could slow myself down for tomorrow and the things to achieve tomorrow, and the same for like the next day and the next day. So what I have to do is today, I've got to try and do today as well as I can, and that means from the moment I get up and I'm getting myself dressed and having breakfast and all that kind of like malarkey, to starting my work, going to meetings, going to the church, whatever it is I'm doing or organising, you know, getting my washing done, my household chores, preparing myself some food, preparing the next batch of tofu I'm making for myself, and trying to fit all these things in, as well as, you know, making a living and so on and so forth. And I have to try and see each day, each individual day, as being the thing to focus on. Yes, I'm still bearing in mind my long-term goals, and in order to get there I have to fulfill my medium-term goals. In order to get there I have to fulfill my short-term goals. In order to fulfill my short-term goals I've got to fulfill today properly, so I don't delay myself tomorrow. Does that make sense? Okay, now what I'm not doing when I'm looking at my short-term, mid-term and long-term goals is getting out the tarot and saying, okay, tell me. I'm not doing that. Why aren't I doing that? Because that won't necessarily help me. Okay? Sometimes when I've got a pressing emotional problem, I'll get out the tarot and I'll use it in meditation, or use the tarot spread as a guided meditation, and I would either design the spread for myself, or I would allow them to go, you know, in their own pattern, depending upon what particular school of thinking I'm using at the time for that particular personal, self-developmental, experiential thing. Alright? I'm very much in favour of using divination tools. If you go to a bookshop, buy something for £15 from a not very good bookshop, whatever, it can still be used very constructively. It can still actually help you out a lot. Okay? But there are certain limits, and sometimes you come across a wall of, I'm not quite, you know, achieving what I want to achieve with this, and that's when, like, nature or your experience is turning around to you and saying, this particular method is not working. Okay, this particular method, this particular ideas, this particular paradigm as to how I should be using this at the moment is not working. So you just stop. You just stop for a little while. Relax. The world won't come to an end if you put your tarot cards back into a box. Really, it won't, okay? And then you try and work out another way of doing it, another set of attitudes, and then you go along with that. But try and bring yourself back into the here and now and to today. Because if you do that, then your ability to reach your medium-term and longer-term goals becomes a lot better. Okay, sure, I may be working hard on today, but I'm thinking about 3 days' time. Right, well, in 3 days' time, whatever's going to happen then is going to happen then. I know what I'm going to need to take with me to various events in 3 days' time, so I'll make sure I have them in place. But then, hand it over, give it up. Don't worry about it. Because you prepare the best you can, and then you see what happens. And you've got to take this, like, let it go with the flow kind of thing. Alright? And if you take that attitude to manage, you find yourself much better able to manage your finances and your cash flow, and looking after your health and fitting your exercise routine into your working day, as well as everything else that you're working on. Okay? And it becomes much less stressful. And sometimes it's even a question of not just even one whole day, but one whole task at a time. Let's say you're going to a meeting, you're worried about the meeting, you're worried about what's going to happen after the meeting, will you be able to fit your shopping in prior to getting back to work, and then what about, you know, feeding the cat and doing whatever it is you have to do with the garden, and then... Okay, so forget that. Think, okay, I'm going to build up a structure in my mind's eye as to what it is I have to achieve, okay? I know that I will be going to the meeting, I'm going to have doing myself some shopping, I'm going to be getting my, you know, doing my lunch preparations, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. That is my structure, okay? I'm not going to worry about that. I can prepare as best as I can for each of these eventualities, but I can't do anything else. At the moment I'm doing this particular exercise here, which happens to be, let's say, the meeting, and I'm just going to do that to the best of my ability. Then once that's done, I can then go on to the next exercise. Once that's done, the next exercise, or the next event, and so on and so forth. And you try and keep yourself focused as best you can on each one. And at the end of the day, you look back over the day and you see how well you've done, and how well you've achieved all the things you've had to in the day. And you don't tell yourself off, you know at least you've had a structure to the day, like an order of operations, as I used to call it to myself when I was going through some hard times in my life. And you then start sorting out all the various different issues, and you stop being worried about the future. You stop needing to think, well, what's going to happen in 5 weeks' time? Or what's going to happen whenever. You stop needing to go, oh, hang on a second. Right, well, let's just see what's happening here. Just, oh, God, what's going to happen then? What's going to happen then? What's going to happen then? Tarot should not be a habit. Okay? It's something to explore, but it's not a habit. It's not something that's always there. Put it down. Put it aside. Put the TV on, watch some Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay? Chillax.